Hi, I'm Navaid Khan from Cohesity, and I'm responsible for service provider technical enablement.
Hi, I'm Yushan Ng from Cohesity, product management team. And today we're here to share with you how Cohesity offers the industry's best web scale platform with advanced global De-dupe.
So Cohesity is the industry's leading web scale platform out there. It scales infinitely and it allows our service provider effectively to be able to buy as you go, incrementally add more nodes as capacity is needed and demand grows.
And just that's really useful, right? Because it means service providers don't have to buy everything up front. They just buy as they need to.
Absolutely, and effectively, you don't need to start big, you start small. You start in the tens of terabytes to be able to deploy a platform and then add users, well, in this case, customers, onto the platform and as demand grows. Mm-hmm. Then the other benefit is non-disruptive node additions. Now, along with that, also, it's not just for node additions, it's also for software upgrades as well. And that basically enables customers to be able to, in this case, service providers to be able to grow their the environment without customers knowing that there's any sort of downtime. Mm-hmm. What this enables our service provider customers to achieve is no forklift upgrades, no impact on data migrations, and effectively, a lot of benefits to their end customers because they're actually not seeing any impact to their services that they're receiving. So Yushen, would you like to talk about variable and global De-dupe?
Definitely. So when it comes to De-dupe, one of the really cool and differentiated things that Cohesity does is we offer variable length De-dupe as opposed to the more traditional fixed length De-dupe.
Interesting. Curious. What's the difference here, Yushen?
So let me show you that by example.
Okay.
Here we've got an example, some source text. The father of the bride was late to the wedding. And when you use fixed length De-dupe, we're going to chunk it into 12 chunks of 4 characters each, or 4 bytes each. In total, we encode this whole sentence using fixed length De-dupe with those 12 chunks, 48 bytes, and some pointers to represent the whole sentence, another 24 bytes, and costs us 72 bytes of storage to encode that whole sentence.
Interesting. I see.
And now if we compare that here to the variable length De-dupe that Cohesity uses, we've got some chunks that are 4 bytes long, but we've also got one chunk that's 6 bytes, 2 chunks that are 5, others that are 4. You add those pointers together, and the net amount of storage required is only 58 bytes.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting.
And if you look at the total there, we get a 20% savings, just in this example between fixed and variable. And that's generally what we see across the industry, across all kinds of workloads. About 20% on average. It varies by data type.
That's really interesting, and I can see it. You've got 9 chunks there versus 12, and there's dedupes happening obviously on some of the variable length chunks, effectively, where we're seeing duplicate basically text.
Absolutely.
And words.
And the important takeaway is this goes directly to help a service provider's bottom line. It really helps. I mean, this is direct cost, and it helps recover and reduce the expense of that storage capacity.
Yep. Excellent.
So let's turn now and talk a little bit about global De-dupe, another advantage that that we offer versus siloed De-dupe.
Great, sure. Let me show you an example, Yushen. At the top half, you see a siloed approach of global of De-dupe, and at the bottom over here is Cohesity's approach for global De-dupe. Let's work through this example. You have a VM machine here with a SQL database. You have a VM machine here, which is an Apache web server. What's interesting is that, let's say in this example, this is product catalog data. Now, this product catalog data is also recorded and stored in the database as well. So if you look at all the total size of this is 12 GB. Whereas in our global De-dupe approach, you have the same VM machine, you have the same SQL 1 gigabyte of database and the Apache web server, but the data set is where we are actually achieving a global De-dupe. And effectively, this is 7 GB, so a significant saving of through global De-dupe of storage. amounting to something like 40% in this case. So this is an example of how global dedupe actually helps service providers and also enterprise customers as well.
Very cool. Could I could I extend this?
Sure.
And so what we've done then is taken our global dedupe capability and then extended it to service provider multi-tenancy with cross-tenant dedupe.
I see.
So let's imagine here that this is tenant 1, and we'll change things a little bit here. This is tenant 2,
yeah.
and they're silos. And they're in these silos, however, they're running the same application here. Let's cross that out. They're not running Apache. They're both running SQL.
Right.
It's the same Microsoft SQL 1 gig image. They both got one. I've also got separate data sets. So this is no longer dataset A and A duplicated. This is dataset A and dataset B.
Right.
2 separate tenants, both running SQL, separate product catalogs.
Mm-hmm.
With this siloed kind of dedupe approach, you can see it's going to take the same 12 gigs, right?
Right. Yes.
1 plus 5, 1 plus 5, 12 gigs. With a global dedupe across tenants, the same 2 tenants again.
Right.
Okay. Now the data sets are this is now totally different. This is it's the
This is
SQL.
a SQL as well.
This is a SQL that's shared, right?
Right. Yes.
So this SQL that's shared, we're deduping that. Our number here is going to be 1 gig for that.
Right.
Dataset A for tenant 1, dataset B, it's going to be 5 gigs for here, 5 gigs for here.
Right.
So it's going to be plus 5, plus 5. Anyway, the net here is going to be 1 plus 5. It's going to be 11 gigs compared to 12 gigs. Not as much of a savings, not the 40% we got earlier,
Right.
but still a significant, I think the number is about 8% of savings when you have cross-tenant dedupe versus not cross-tenant dedupe.
I think that's significant, especially with service providers with hundreds and hundreds of customers. That adds up. Every little bit helps.
It all goes to the service provider's margin. So with that, I want to kind of recap here what we've talked about today. We talked about our Cohesity web scale platform with advanced global dedupe. Web scale with kind of unlimited scale, non-disruptive node addition, as well as software upgrade. Then we went to dedupe, looked at variable length dedupe and the efficiencies that we gained there, typically 20%.
Yeah.
Global dedupe across workloads with no silos. Global cross-tenant dedupe, which I should say, we didn't mention it before, is an optional offering.
Right.
And not required. And that can get you another 8%. And all put together, this enables us, Cohesity, to offer the industry's leading web scale and most efficient advanced global dedupe platform for service providers. Anything else to add there?
Oh, I think that's great. I mean, for the savings are great for service providers, and as you said, it's the leading platform in the industry with all these features.
Well, thank you very much. Hope you come back to our website and look for yet more information about our service provider solution.